Welcome once again to 3 Up and 3 Down. Today we will tackle Saturday's main slate on DraftKings of college football. I imagine a lot of you won money last week with our picks. It would have been a great week. We missed on one out of the six, and that was running back Marcus Carroll of Missouri. And I did warn you that that was a great pick as long as Missouri did not fall behind big against Alabama. They ended up losing 34-0. Carroll very cheaply still ran for 80 yards, but only had one catch, did not find the end zone. And it was going to be tough to beat the week before that, where all six of our picks were home runs. For those that don't know the channel, my name is Sweet Lou, and I will give you 3 players for DraftKings that I think you should pay up for, and also 3 players that I believe are underpriced and should hit value. As far as college football goes this week, you may want to check the weather in a couple games. I believe it is the Mississippi-Arkansas game as well as the Duke-Miami game. Both games are expecting some gusts of wind with chance of showers. In South Florida, where Miami's playing, you never know what you're going to get. But may want, if you have players from either one of those 2 games, and I don't have any on my 6 picks, you may want to check before game time. Another thing I want to touch on is this is a difficult week for picking. Usually I've got a pattern that I go through and I double check a few things here. For the 3 down players, I usually try to pick at least one running back that is either replacing somebody or is going up against a really bad defense that I think can come through and put up a lot of points. It's difficult this week. I'm probably going to cut down a little bit of what I do as far as the volume I play this week. But now, without further ado, let's start with the 3 up players I think you should obviously pay up for. Number 1 is quarterback Bryson Daly of Army. Army takes on Air Force this week. This is the first time we've seen unbeaten Army in one of the DraftKings main slates. So that's going to be interesting. I do think Daly will probably be heavily owned. The interesting thing is Air Force is the worst run defense on the slate. So why am I picking Daly at quarterback? At 9,200, by the way, because he has run for more than 100 yards in 6 straight, and he had 171 yards rushing last week. In his last 5 games, he has not scored fewer than 39 fantasy points. Again, I do believe if people are privy to what Army has been doing, that he could be well owned, but I think it's somebody that you definitely should be heavy on. Next one, we're going to go to running back Mario Anderson Jr. of Memphis at 7,800. And with all apologies to Seinfeld, this must be opposite day, because I took a quarterback against the worst run defense, and I'm taking a running back against the second worst pass defense in the slate and UTSA. I think this is the highest implied scoring game on the slate. A former 3-star recruit, Anderson has steadily become one of probably the top 20 running backs in the country. And more than that, as I mentioned, UTSA has a bad pass defense. He catches the ball. He catches the ball a lot. He has at least 3 catches in 7 straight games. I already mentioned it is the highest scoring game in the slate. I think we're going to see a lot of points in this game. And I think Anderson's had 54 touches in the last 2 games. 54 rushes, I should say. That's not including his pass receptions. I believe he had 8 pass catches in the last 2 games. I think he hits value even at that price. And finally, the last 2 weeks we've done very well with running back from Texas Tech, Taj Brooks. And it's funny that I'm staying away from him on a day when he goes up against one of the worst run defenses in the country in Iowa State. But what concerns me is kind of a little bit what concerned me about Marcus Carroll last week, except Brooks is a very high-priced player, and his price keeps going up because he's been doing so well for us. I think that Iowa State could jump out early in this game and minimize it. And, if Brooks gets 15 points, that's not good enough for a 9,200 salary. So I will probably still be exposed to him somewhat, but I'm going to stay away from him as far as one of my main players. Instead, on the last person of the three up, I'm going to go with wide receiver Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State at 7,500. Ohio State plays Penn State this week in a huge game for him. The fabulous freshman is coming off his worst game of the year when he only had 3 catches and 70, but he did have 70 yards and a touchdown. As a matter of fact, he has scored a touchdown in every single game, all 7 games of his career so far. It was a lackluster win for Ohio State against Nebraska. And I think maybe they were saving some stuff up, but they've had now 6 days to try to fix things up. This is their biggest game of the year, especially after the loss to Oregon. I anticipate a huge game from Smith, and I see him getting into the end zone one more time. Now we're going to go to the 3 down players. Players I think you should pay up or a lower price that should hit value. Number 1, we're going to go with quarterback Rocco Becht of Iowa State. We already mentioned Texas Tech is playing Iowa State, and I mentioned how bad Iowa State's run defense was. Well, Texas Tech pass defense is not only the worst in this slate, in the 12-game slate, it is the worst in the country. Becht has been kind of average all year, but he's coming off his best game with 270 yards through the air. But what's really trending me towards him is the fact that he had 20 carries for 97 yards. He hadn't had more than 8 carries in a game, and the 97 yards that he had rushing last week were more than he had the entire season combined. Maybe they found something. I'm going to have a lot of Rocco Becht on this team. I don't think Texas Tech can stop him, and that's probably why I'm going to go a little lighter on Taj Brooks. Next one on the 3 down, it's going to be wide receiver Houston Thomas of Texas San Antonio, who I mentioned moments ago is playing Memphis in the highest scoring game in the slate. He's only 3,200, and usually with most players are 3,200, he incurs a lot of risk. But I think it's a risk that could pay off. He has become more and more involved in the offense as the season has gone on. This should be a high-scoring game. And more importantly, what got me was that last week, in his best game of the year, he had 10 targets. He turned those into 6 catches for 132 yards. If he can come anywhere near that, he more than covers his 3,200 price tag. And finally, on the 3 down, we're going to go with running back Kanye Udo of Army. Yes, I know I already got Bryson Daly, their quarterback. But Army is going to run some more against the bad run defense from Air Force. In the last 2 games, he has 197 yards and 38 carries. Army's probably only going to throw the ball 10 to 12 times. Daly's going to run a lot, and I think Udo's going to run a lot. And I think they're probably going to, if I had to guess, they're going to come close, if not surpass 300 yards rushing. Again, that's it for the 3 up and 3 down. To recap, on the 3 up side, quarterback Bryson Daly of Army, 9,200. Running back Maury Anderson Jr. of Memphis at 7,800. Wide receiver Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State at 7,500. On the 3 down, quarterback Rocco Becht of Iowa State at 6,500, which is on the lower end of the starting quarterbacks. Wide receiver Houston Thomas of UTSA at 3,200. And running back Kanye Udo of Army at 5,500. Remember, we're a new channel. If you're enjoying the content and we're helping you win some money, please hit like and subscribe. You leave me any comments as long as I see them before 12 o'clock tomorrow. Actually, make it before 11 o'clock. The last hour, I got to check all my teams. If you have any lineup questions, I will reply to you. Until next time, win some money.